like to call to order the regular meeting of the Yuba City Council slated for 6 o'clock here in the council chambers. Sister Marie, if we could have roll call, please.
Mayor Buckland,
Here.
Vice Mayor Cleveland,
Here.
Councilmember Didball,
Here.
Councilmember Dukes,
Here.
Councilmember Gill,
Here. And Councilmember Dukes will lead us through an invocation, and Councilmember Didball will lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to represent our citizens of this great city. We pray, Lord, that you will give us the wisdom that we need tonight as we address the issues that are before us. We just pray that you will give us wisdom and bless and be with us tonight. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm actually going to put this down here, since I don't need it.
Finances, good luck. If I could get Rose. There you are. Get Rose to come on up. Rose is with Casa de Esperanza, and we have a proclamation for sexual assault awareness. And I'm going to give you this proclamation so you can hold it while I read the shortened version to this. Casa de Esperanza has led the way in addressing sexual assault by providing a 24-hour hotline service to victims and survivors and their significant others, responding to emergency calls, offering support and comfort to those impacted by sexual assault. Staff and volunteers of sexual assault programs work year-round to encourage every person to end sexual violence and to support survivors by providing prevention education and survivor empowerment information. Casa de Esperanza has set an important example in forging collaborative relationship in how forging collaborative relationships between service agencies and organizations serves to improve the quality of service for those who most profoundly and directly are impacted by sexual violence. Casa de Esperanza requests public support and assistance as it continues its efforts to bring real hope for freeing victims from the tragedy of sexual violence to create a future where all women, men, and children can live free from violence and exploitation. Now, therefore, it be resolved that in recognition of the important work done by sexual assault programs in cooperation with Casa de Esperanza, the Yuba City Council hereby proclaims the month of July 2016 that no means no. Women and men working together can make a difference in the fight against sexual assault and gender violence in our community. Proclaimed on this 19th day of July 2016. Thank you very much, Rose, and I'll give you an opportunity to say any words if you'd like.
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody for their support, thank the members for the continued support, and the ribbons that you guys see on the bridge, that's us. That's a reminder to support the cause. Thank you very much.
And thank you. Now I get to make a presentation on July is Parks Make Life Better month. So if I could get the members that are here to come down, I think it's Ann, JP, Jessica, and Jay Long. Oh, and the commissioners that are here. So, I'm sorry, Sharon, Cindy, and Erica. They just put it in two different paragraphs. Come on up. So for the commissioners to hold that, I'll see if I can get through this without stumbling.
Okay.
Residents value recreation as it reduces crime, promotes the arts, increases social connections, aids in therapy, and promotes lifelong learning. And the residents of the city of Yuba City benefit from the wide range of facilities and recreation programs, including the Gaucher Aquatic Park, the Feather River Parkway. If y'all don't know where that is, look it up on a map. The Senior Center, if you're old enough to go there, and the youth and adult sports provided by the city of Yuba City, and for all their efforts to create a better community and quality of life for our residents, the City Council would like to recognize all of these folks along with everyone else from the commission. And I think the supervisor, Ty, isn't here. Is Ty? He's not here. But everyone else that is involved in making our community a much better place to live, play, and certainly to work. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, John Buckland, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council of the City of Yuba City, do hereby proclaim July 2016 as Parks Make Life Better Month, and in doing so, ask that the citizens of the City of Yuba City use and enjoy its parks, trails, and open space facilities and recreation opportunities that are afforded them. Thank you very much for everything that you do, and I will give you an opportunity to take the microphone. Each of you must speak. A very short explanation of who you are, what you do, and what your responsibilities are.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Foote, and I am a commission member. And I would like to thank the City of Yuba City and City Council members for supporting such a quality Parks and Recreation program for our community.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Schatzwell, and I am also a commissioner. And also, thank you very much for supporting the Parks and Rec Commission and all of the things that the Parks and Rec departments do.
Hi, I'm Ann Gillen. I'm a recreation supervisor over at the Gaucher Aquatic Park, and I just make sure that everybody has fun and keep it safe over there. Hello, my name is Jessica Laney. I run the Yuba City Senior Center right off at Ainsley, so if you're 50 plus, please stop on by. We have a lot to offer every day, as well as our facility is available for rental for any type of event, so just contact me.
I'm Jay Long. I'm the recreation supervisor for our youth sports and after school programs. I just want to say thank you for supporting the youth in the community and Parks Make Life Better.
I'm JP LaCroix. I'm in charge of adult sports and youth camps. I encourage everybody to get involved in recreation in some way or another. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities, as well as a lot of new recreation adult sports coming in. Kickball being one of our bigger ones. So I encourage everybody to get involved, and thank you for allowing us to basically take the sports and run with them for the community. Thank you.
Who knew that kickball would be so exciting, but yet a gladiator sport in Yuba City? The other night I went over to the end of their first game, and they all go over to Happy Viking, I think, to take doses of ibuprofen after the game. And I saw more bloody knees and shins over there, and people just whining about how fun it was. Ben's on the run because we're going to move to public hearings. Moving on to item number 3, Yuba City Residential Streetlight Maintenance Districts, the Walton area and Terra Buena area, presented by Benjamin Moody, our Deputy Public Works Director in Engineering. Ben.
Hear me?
Now we hear.
Good evening. The item before you is in regards to the residential street lighting districts, to confirm the diagram and assessment and levy the assessment for the upcoming fiscal year 16-17. What we have before you with this item is regarding the Terra Buena and the Walton areas. So if you could see the off-colored dots, that is the pink. That's Terra Buena and the Walton area. Basically, in those districts, we get a revenue in the Walton area 40,000, expending right now about 41,000, and a reserve balance of about 76. And then you can see in the Terra Buena, 50, 61, 32. The city's goal, the staff, is to keep a reserve balance of about 50% of the expenditures, and then ease into it so the price doesn't fluctuate drastically. As you can see, the Walton area is it's out of whack a little bit with that goal, and so what we're doing is we're easing into that and bringing that area down. So this year, those districts will see about a $20 to $30 decrease from last year, and we're going to slowly bring that down just to make sure we don't drastically go down and then have to come back up next year. So, okay, basically, we on June 21st, our last meeting, we brought the item forward to consider to file the engineer's report and to set the public hearing for today. And so with that, I'd like you to have a public hearing and confirm the resolution confirming the diagram and assessment and levying the assessment for fiscal year 16-17 pursuant to the Benefit Assessment Act of 1982. I'd be open for questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions of Ben before I open it for the public? Any comments? Going to open the public hearing portion. Any member of the public that wishes to speak to this item may go up, nudge Ben out of the way, introduce yourself, and speak to this matter. Seeing no mad rush, we'll close it. I guess when you're giving money back, nobody wants to talk. Action from the council.
Through the mayor, like to move approval of this item.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ben. Don't leave. Item number 4, Yuba City Landscape Maintenance District number 1, Stabler Lane, Garden Highway area. Yuba City Lighting and Maintenance District number 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's be the town center and 69 subdivisions throughout Yuba City. And Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District number 6, which is our commercial district. Presented by Mr. Ben Moody, Public Works Director.
Through the
Deputy.
mayor. Through the
Public Works
mayor.
Director.
I have to recuse myself because I live in district number 4.
Okay.
And I'm in District 4 as well.
Both asking to be recused. Please step to the back. Fire away, Ben.
All right, real similar to the last item. These areas, landscape and lighting maintenance districts. So these areas pertain to parkway strips and different and sound walls and different medians that also include landscaping within the districts besides lighting. So with that, this item, basically we're before you to conduct a public hearing, and after consideration of the item, adopt a resolution confirming the diagram and assessment and levy the assessment for fiscal year 16-17 within the Yuba City Landscape Maintenance Districts 1 and Lighting Landscape Maintenance Districts 2 through 6. Annually, we come forward to you. This is to evaluate those districts and then go forward with a recommendation. Again, staff's goal is to set a levy that keeps the price from fluctuating drastically and keep a reserve balance within about 50% of the expenditures. As we discussed at the last meeting, some of these districts, the reserve balance is higher, and staff is working on looking at those, but also there's consideration that each of those small districts we like to keep a certain amount of money in there in case a street light or some major repair needs to be taken care of. It's where a street light costs $10,000 or a reserve balance for a wall where there's a certain amount of money in there. besides just the operating expense. We went through staff, finance department, and worked with parks and with our consultant to go through those areas and to work towards council's goal to kind of have a 50% value and not to fluctuate the levies. So with that, our recommendation is to conduct a public hearing after consideration of the item, adopt a resolution confirming the diagram assessment and levying the assessment for 1617 pursuant to the Landscaping and Lighting Act 1972. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Ben before this opens to public hearing?
Through the mayor.
Okay.
Ben, I do have one question. On District Number 1, the revenues were $87,841 and expenditures were $130,187. And all the rest of them seem to be pretty much in line with what the revenues are. This one was quite a bit higher. What is the reasoning for that?
So with this District 1B is it mainly composes of the median strip up Garden Highway. And when that district was formed, unfortunately, it did not have a inflation factor. And so every year prices continue to go up and the amount is locked in. So with the assessment for 1B and 1A, you can see where they're $29.50 and $56.72 and there's been zero change. Unfortunately, that is due because of the way the district has been established.
Well, at some point then, are they going to run out of money if they're spending $50,000 more than what they're bringing in?
They have ran out of money, and with where there's been a need for input from the general fund, and so basically the general fund subsidizes that account.
Mr. Mayor, there are certain areas of town that are gateway entrances into our city that frankly we can't afford to see go downhill. So we've looked at this area several times. As Mr. Moody indicated, there's an inability without going back and asking for an increase in assessments. So we do target certain areas of town to use funding from our parks budget to help the funding of our medians and entryways.
Through the mayor.
Go ahead.
Are these also the districts that had 218 process and that didn't get passed or something? Because I know we had some of them that did not occur. Is that one of the situations, is 218 to make changes on it?
There have been a couple of processes in the past. You're referring to the county process or the city process?
City.
Yeah, the city process went through and sought to adjust a number of different districts, and none of those were approved, as I recall, for increase.
Yeah.
So
everybody's paying in the city rather than the people that are receiving the actual direct service.
So as of probably the early 90s, a decision was made actually by many cities, any new development, the associated landscaping adjacent to it would be paid for by the new development. Then we reached a point where the realization became a little more background. Prop 218 said that any increases would have to go to a public vote. Prior to that, it was easier to adjust. Mm-hmm. And after that, that's when the CPI increases, post-1996, CPI increases were built in. So we do have some somewhat, I'll call orphaned areas that have the inability to increase. So in a nutshell, Councilman, Vice Mayor Cleveland, your comment is correct, that the rest of the community offsets that. Why is it appropriate from a staff perspective? Because these are the major gateways of our community. When there are areas within subdivisions, those are areas where, frankly, we do not use common funds from the general fund for as an offset in any way.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions before I open it to the public? Open it for public hearing. Any member of the public wishes to speak to this may go to the podium. Let us know who you are, and you have 3 minutes.
Pat Miller. I won't take 3 minutes. I just have a question. It says Yuba City Landscape Maintenance District Number 1, and I should have done the research, is Stabler Lane Garden Highway, and I cannot figure out where those two intersect.
So the district number is number 1. It
Right.
has Stabler Lane / also Garden Highway is in that same district. I think it's during the formation of the districts that those two were joined together, and that's just a historical number that was attached to those two back in, I believe, back in the late 80s.
So
when that
it isn't necessarily that when you have a district lighting or maintenance district that it's contiguous to.
No.
So they're way far apart, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think this was one of our first landscape maintenance districts. Excuse me? Yeah. But it was also one of the
we
one
group
of the
them
very
together
first ones.
based on similar use. So in that area, it has walls and landscaping, compared to another area that might just have parkway strips.
Hi. Hi.
How are
I'm
you?
Fran Hill. I have a question for you. On the first resolution that you guys did, he mentioned that they were going to get a $20 decrease because they had 50% of their funds in there. But he didn't say anything on our district as to whether or not we're getting a decrease or you're asking for an increase.
So we'll go
I'm in
over.
District 4.
Okay, we'll go over District 4 individually, and we'll have Ben show that on the assessment.
Okay, thank you.
So the previous resolution had to do with the Walton area and Terra Buena, just PG&E streetlights. If District 4, depending on which zone she is in District 4, A through D, there's some minor adjustments in there, 21 cents, 45 cents, 5 cents, and reducing 9 cents, basically for an annual change.
So if you're in D, you're making money.
So if she's in District 4, there's going to be a fluctuation of a couple cents.
Any other members of the public? Close the public hearing, bring it back to council for action.
Move for approval. Recommended action.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Sounded unanimous to me. Thank you very much, Ben. We'll bring our other two members back. They've heard this same spiel in the past. Public communication, you're welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on items listed on the agenda when they're called. Public comment on items not listed on the agenda will be heard under item 6, appearance of interested citizens. Comments on controversial items may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. Written requests. Do we have
No
any
requests
written
were
requests?
received.
Thank you very much. And item number 6, appearance of interested citizens. Members of the public may address the city council on items that are of interest that are within the city's jurisdiction. Individuals addressing general comments are encouraged to limit their statements to 3 minutes. Moving on to the consent calendar. Oh, we have one. Thank you very much. You have to be quicker or I move right through this. Mr. Klinkenbeard.
Hello, my name is Jeff Klinkenbeard, and I'm in Beat 4 of Yuba City here. My wife and I just moved here about a year and a half ago, and we bought a newer house in an area surrounded by houses built in the 1950s. And my concern is, you're talking about gateways to coming in, like when you're coming in from Marysville into Yuba City, and you know, you're doing a lot of construction there on Bridge Street. Well, my concern is, I heard, and I've been hearing, there's a committee for the railroad yard there. The railroad yard poses a big hazard to all of us that live in that area. Not only the trucks that go through there, but the encampments of people sleeping in there in the garbage, the fights, the noise late at night, sleeping in the oleanders there. And I've asked several times, who's on this committee and how do I get on the committee? Who do I talk to? Being that I have such a large investment in my home, I paid almost cash for it. So I'd like to have, something done about it. People say it could be a parking lot, and there's a problem with chemicals in the ground, very costly and all that. But I'd still like to have some kind of input and hear more about who is going to do something about that strip of dirt and dust and weeds and garbage all along Reeves Road, right next to Bridge Street.
Mr. Klinkenbeard, I'm going to take just a moment to address that, just on kind of the higher look at that property. The entire railroad right-of-way through Yuba City is currently held by Union Pacific Railroad. There have been attempts and continue. The city continues to negotiate with Union Pacific as that railroad was started the abandonment process about, I think it's been about 18 years that they started that process. I mean, we've ripped rail out of the roadways that were up and down, or down Plymouth Street, that were embedded in Bridge Street. That area right there, you're quite correct, does have some contamination. Union Pacific has looked at that. The concern that we have as a city is the actions that Union Pacific wanted to take on that property, and that was to move the contaminated ballast westerly in Yuba City, back behind roughly the area of Walmart, and build a mountain and cap that over with asphalt and left there in perpetuity. We don't feel that that is a good answer for the city of Yuba City. So we are actively negotiating with Union Pacific to acquire that property. The intent would be, there are easements along that property that have to be addressed, but the process would be to allow adjacent property owners to acquire some of that property and expand their properties into that. Therefore, they would then take care of what would be cleaned in the process of prior to it being sold by the railroad to the city, and then the city to the private property owners. The property would be deemed clean and all the contamination removed. So as that process has been slow, it has been a frustrating part for, I know, law enforcement, for the fire department. As it intersects the city, it's not the best of environments to have running right through the middle of your town. So there are a lot of efforts. There's no actual committee working on anything yet, but I'm certain that through all the suggestions of land use in the future, that some good resolution will come about for that property.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public? Seeing no one moving forward, we'll move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the council votes on the motion unless members of the city council, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Any members from council want the items removed? Staff or from the public? Seeing none.
Move for approval on the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consent calendar passes. And moving on to item number 16, general items. And I'm certain that we have the remaining group here waiting to hear this. Water and wastewater rates presented by Diana Langley, our Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So for the last few months, we've been working on water and wastewater rates. In April, council adopted the rate studies. On June 8th, we held the protest hearing for the proposed rates, in which we did not receive a majority protest. At the same time, council gave staff direction with the changes to the the water conservation mandate to bring forward options for implementation of water rates. With the mandate decreasing, the anticipation is that the consumption will increase, which will then in turn increase our revenues. So tonight I have 3 options for you for implementation of water rates. Here are the rates that were approved through the Proposition 218 process. Not only were the rates actually increased, but also the baseline allocation was decreased from what is currently allowed. The 3 options that I have for you on the left is what was approved through Proposition 218. Option 1 would keep the baseline allocation similar to what it is today. So for instance, a 1-inch water service currently today has an allocation of 15 HCF, which is 100 cubic feet, and that would remain. Option 2 provides a baseline allocation similar to what was approved through the 218 process. So for a 1-inch water service, that would be 11 units. And then option 3 is kind of a combination of the two, where it's in the middle at 13 units. There are corresponding rates associated with each option. I can say that through the process of the various public hearings that were held, and then also presentations, many comments from customers were they would like to see the allocation remain the same at the 15 units. That was kind of an overwhelming response that we received. And I'd also like to note that the option 1, in terms of keeping the baseline allocation, would keep the fixed provides the most fixed revenue when compared to the other 2 options. And then all 3 options provide very comparable total revenue as compared to what was approved through the 218 process. This is just a table showing how the rates compare to the existing rates. And then we move on to the proposed wastewater rates. These are the proposed wastewater rates that were approved through the 218 process, and we're not proposing any modifications to that. So we're proposing to move forward with the year 1 rates as approved through the 218 process. So the recommendation tonight is to, number 1, select a water rate option for implementation, adopt the appropriate resolution. There are 3 different resolutions in your packet, all corresponding to each option, and then also adopt a resolution to set the wastewater rates. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members of council? All right. This is not a public hearing, but I'm going to go ahead and open this to any members of the public that wish to speak to the rates and the rate increase. We would like to hear from members of the public.
Dale McDowell, and on the rates, I have gone over and compared those that were just presented by Diane, and I think the citizens of Yuba City, from all that I have talked to, would greatly appreciate you staying with the 15 units. Would be option 1 would be the most beneficial for them as far as financial expenses are concerned. And that would also show that you're showing some consideration for the citizens of Yuba City. And that would be my suggestion for you to keep that 15 unit in that plan 1 in. And I make a little comment to you more. We're still on conservation, and I had occasion to go about 5 o'clock this morning to get a cup of coffee. And I go down Butte House Road out here, and there's about 5 sprinkler heads that we're supposed to have a nozzle on hose whenever we have it in washing cars. But we had about 5 sprinklers out here that was shooting a straight stream. And I don't know where they're going over to the street or where, but maybe have a check on those to see what the problem is there.
And Dale, just for clarification, was it coming off of city property or?
Yeah, it was on the right-hand side of Butte House Road there, where it was. It was on city property. Yeah.
You're going towards Starbucks.
No, I'm coming in towards.
You're coming this way. So it's right here by City
Gray
Hall.
Avenue. Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there was a little dust out in the road, so we were trying to.
Wait.
Yeah, we're trying to knock that dust down.
5 of them, I think you did a good job on it this morning.
But trust me, if that water comes on tomorrow morning, and it's still squirting out in the road, we'll probably have to get somebody out there and take a look at it.
My wife hits me hard enough in the morning, early enough, I'll go by and check.
Okay. Hey, Dale, just I'll give you my phone number, and you can call me.
Okay.
But wait till about 7:30, though. Okay.
That's okay.
We will take care of it.
Okay.
Through the mayor.
Go ahead.
I'm going to use this as a shameless plug right now for the Yuba City 311 app that you can get for your phones, and you can literally take a picture and it will tell you exactly where that's at, and it will send it to the appropriate department here in the city to get those things taken care of. So I would encourage you to do that.
Do you have one of those phones that have apps on it, Dale? Your phone, yeah. I'll give you my phone number then.
If you want to wait until 7:30, that's fine. But I'm awake by 4:30 in the morning, so you can call me earlier.
Any other members of the public wish to speak to the rates? Rick, welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. So if my calculations are correct, and they have been up to this point, your new proposal option, get these numbers straight. Your 15-unit option still is a 29% increase, which is a lot lower than your old proposal for an 81% increase. So that's quite a drop. Your 13-unit proposal is a 45% increase, and the 11-unit proposal is a 58% increase. So bear in mind that if you go with the 15-unit proposal, it's going to be 29% increase, 13 will be 45, and the 11-unit proposal is 58% increase, which to most people in this community is still pretty obscene. And I haven't had the time to do all the calculation, but it still seems that you're penalizing people that use the least amount of water, the people that can least afford it, and I don't think that's right.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Miller.
Just a clarification, the proposals are for this next year. What happens the second year, the third year, the fourth year, and the fifth year? Because it isn't clear on the staff report that it will remain the same, or is it going to increase, or what's going to happen?
To answer your question very directly, this council has given direction to staff that we will bring back each and every year the rate, any rate proposals. This goes through the budget process, budget workshops, and everything else. So those workshops, when you come as the Sutter County Taxpayers Association, that's something that you need to look at, because that is in the documents and in how we are going to fund and moving forward those enterprise funds for the year. And at this point, we don't have a genie that just popped out of the bottle for telling us how much water is going to be used this year. I'm certain that we are looking at different baselines right now, knowing that we still are in a conservation mode within the state of California. But we feel confident that we can move forward with an adjustment upward, and also looking at this year being able to fund those enterprise funds with what is being proposed. This is less than, financially, dollar-wise, less than the authorized through the Prop 218 process. And so I think the discussions here tonight at council level will be also based on the allocation in units to be, or the baseline units for water. Any other member of the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, I'm going to close any further comment and bring it back to council for any other clarification through Diana. Any questions?
Through the mayor. I just want to make mention that had a significant amount of citizens that had been engaged in the process approach me and ask, what is this going to do? And basically what I told them, well, it's going to be less than what was allowable under the 218 first year, but it's there is a certain amount of funds that we have to get to make whole our obligations, and then the stage 1 and 2 projects that were decided to be done. So that's the first year, but the potential for the second through fifth year is a significant, could be a significant reduction. I just know that it's going to be a reduction, but it could be significant in the actual increase. So the numbers that you saw go, vertical will not be that way. And then I had a question asked by one. Well, why don't we just not do phase 1 and phase 2? Or stage 1 and stage 2 projects? And I said, well, we kind of got chastised for not, as a council, not in a city, not projecting and saving enough money and having in the process for doing these improvements all along. While there was some taken in, there wasn't enough. So I said, I'd rather err or have the projects in the programmed into the rate increases, because otherwise, when we do have to do it, instead of only the increase we have, it will be through the roof, because we'll have to come to them and say, hey, we're going to need a bond. We're going to have to do some form of emergency measure, and that is definitely the wrong way to run a city. That is incorrect way to service the citizens that live here. So, there's two ways of looking at it, and luckily they pretty much were amenable to it and said, well, it looks like, you guys are actually paying attention to us as citizens, and thank you for doing that. So that's what the end result was. They were thanking us for going back and reassessing and going back and doing this. Diane, thank you for the extra work, because we asked for extra scenarios and a lot of numbers you have to work with in there, and we gave you a lot of extra work, and thank you for giving us these numbers.
I just want to make one clarification, and it's not a correction. Given normal rainfall years, there is the likelihood that there would be sufficient revenue and no additional mandates made by the governor's office to restrict water consumption at a greater rate than what we would be setting as a baseline. I have to caution you, we are still in a classified drought in the state of California. We still need to be conscious of conservation efforts. The city will continue, all cities will continue conservation efforts in California to be able to meet the goals of our water systems, and that is to deliver clean, drinkable water for the residents of the entire state of California. Bar none, we don't get to just make decisions based on just Yuba City, even though we're in an area of origin. DWR was put together for the shipment of water to go south, and you see that project, Oroville Dam. That's that storage facility just slightly north and east of us. That was put together by a governor who just happens to be related to the current governor for the express purpose of delivering water throughout the state of California. So with that in mind, I think we all need to be conscious that the state will do what the state does with total disregard to local municipalities and other agencies that are responsible for delivering water and taking care of their residents.
Yeah, through the mayor, after looking at all three of these options and listening to the residents of our wonderful city of Yuba City, many of you guys echoed the same thing as keeping the baseline at 15, and if we have to, is increase the fee a little bit slightly. And I think and if you take a look even at our current rates, and even if we're able to increase at option number 1, our fees that the city of Yuba City charges compared to our peers, Yuba City, our Chico, Woodland, is still lower than what the rest of the folks are. And I think if we take a look at this, and I think like the mayor said it, and somebody had the question, I think Pat perhaps did, is what happens next year? Well, this is a 1-year vote as far as increasing the fee. Any future increases has to come back to the council to say, and the council has to approve on it, so to go to year 2 or to go 3. And I think during our process that we went through, some of the residents got up and said, well, I've never seen government give money back. Once the government always takes money, they never put it back. And one of the things that you're able to see here is in the parks and in the lighting districts and stuff, there were years that we didn't charge. We reduced the fees because at the end of the day, our goal is to balance the budget, balance each different line item. And if there's sufficient funds, we don't need to sit there and tax people more and more and more. And that may be the case here as well. It may come back next year. Keeping in mind, if we do go with option number 1, that doesn't mean that we're out of the drought. We still got a state mandate that we've got to try to reduce water assumptions probably by 20%. Yeah, 15. So on one hand, it's like we got the water, and the other hand, it's like go ahead and reduce it. So myself, after looking at all this, I would be in support of option number 1.
Through the mayor. I'd just like to echo the same comments that when we put together the 218 process and started this a couple years ago, we were under some different mandates from the state as far as conservation, and our water consumption had dropped considerably. And when we put this together, or staff put these numbers together, we were dealing with totally different scenario. And to Mr. Gill's comment that people were saying that we don't reduce. This is a prime example of here is how government does work. Good government does work is that we look at the situation and we evaluate that. And I'm in favor of option number 1 also, which will be a compromise from where we started. That puts it in line with where we are today, not where we were when we started down this path.
The mayor. Just wanted to go ahead and this was the first time that I've actually gone through a 218 process, so it was very interesting and learned a lot from the process. But at the same time, getting the public feedback, the phone calls that I've received as well, and to really listen to the public and see where their concerns were coming from. And I feel that with the concerns and the increase in the water rates in option 1 are the most feasible for our community, and I think it suffices where we're headed in the future. And every year we'll take a look at it as we proposed to evaluate where we are. When we first started this process, we were in a totally different mind frame and the situation for us. So as we've moved and things have changed, I think option 1, at least in my point of view, is probably for our community and the feedback that I've received from the public, our best option at this point. And again, keep in mind that we're still conserving water. So like for myself, I haven't changed my days, I haven't changed my timing or anything. We're still in those circumstances. So keep that in mind, that even though the water restrictions are a little bit more lenient, just still keep that in mind. It's important.
And the 1-inch service is what we're talking about, goes into most residential homes. And also talking with the commercial applications and some of our large producers here in the area that consume large amounts of water. As they have reviewed this, I can tell you that there's a great amount of relief on their part financially, looking at their consumption rates and what they were going to have to do for modifications and to try to help meet the goals that the city was set out with. So in conversation, they are from the large consumers of water. They're very happy with the adjustments that are within the. They're not happy. I don't want to put it that way. They're pleased that there is movement within the options to reduce, still allow more allocation, but reduce the fees a little bit. Direction from the council.
I'd like to move, don't have the resolution, but option 1 for the water rates, and then also to move for the wastewater rates. Or are we going to still do that?
Yeah.
A and B, but A be the option 1.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. We'll have a roll call vote on this.
Councilmember Didball?
Yes.
Councilmember Dukes?
Yes.
Councilmember Gill?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cleveland?
Aye.
Mayor Buckland?
Aye. Thank you very much. Your water, you get to use more water. My wife will be happy. I will text her momentarily that she can run a little bit more water on her plants and not risk the additional rates. Moving on to item number 17, Valencia Estates subdivision, presented by Ben Moody, Deputy Public Works Director. Ben.
Okay, good evening. The item before you is in regards to the Valencia Estates subdivision, where we're going to look to approve the Valencia Estates subdivision agreement and authorize staff to make the necessary budget adjustments to facilitate the construction of the city's share of Thule Parkway. Basically, this subdivision came in as a tentative subdivision map in December of 2014. It involves 11.9 acres, 39 single-family homes on the west side of Thule Parkway, just north of Bradley Estates and south of Heidi Way. And so, with analysis, basically, the next step in this development is to approve the subdivision agreement that ensures the construction of the required public improvements and specifies the obligations of the developer of dedicating the necessary right-of-ways and easements and establishing the terms of the agreement. The agreement calls out specifications of the Thule Parkway, basically with the road being an impact fee road in the general plan. The city has obligations for a lane and a half, and then also we've collected money from past developments on the east side that we're going to contribute towards the development at this time with the construction going forward. The project costs approximately $464,000 of previous developer obligations are we requesting to use, and then allocate $208,000 of impact fees for that center portion of the lane. With the full build out of the homes, we collect about $10,000 per home. So we're looking at about a $400,000 total impact fee when those homes are fully built out, with a net difference of around a couple $100,000, a little less than a couple $100,000. So it's kind of exciting. This is one of the first developments, new developments that's come forward since the recession, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. With this road, the layout, we're constructing basically just half of the road. We're going to dedicate the ultimate right-of-way, but due to traffic volumes for this foreseeable future, we're just going to build the actual road for the on the east side of the road, for one lane of traffic in each direction with bike lanes, and have a landscaped area, a enlarged landscape area on the west side. With that, I'd like to recommend city authorize the use of available developer deposit construction and lieu funds associated with Thule Parkway for developer reimbursement costs. Item B, authorize the finance director to make a supplemental appropriation of $208,128 of unallocated road developer impact fees. C, adopt a resolution approving the execution of the subdivision agreement. And D, adopt a resolution approving the final map. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Ben? Seeing none?
Through the mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve staff's recommendation for A and B.
A through D.
A through D, yes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Ben. I think your work's done for the night. Item number 18, purchase of planning, building permit, and business license software and implementation services to provide for online permit applications. Plan review, business license applications and renewals, presented by Brian Hanson, our Senior Information Technology Analyst. Brian.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Give us what you got.
See what I can do. So tonight I bring for you the purchase of land management and business license software and the implementation staff report. So first I want to give you a little background on this project. Our existing land management and business license software is SunGard's Penimation Plus series. The city purchased this software in 1997, so it's a little old.
Dated?
Yeah. Over the past 19 plus years, we've gone through several upgrades and added new features and services. But the challenge has been is that with the aging software, it just doesn't provide the online services that we desire. So SunGard does not have a roadmap for providing enhanced services. Their suggestion is to migrate to one of their other products. So it's essentially kind of an end-of-life product. Staff, along with council, recognized areas of need for improvement, and two committees were formed to, as separate projects to look at both the land management and the business license software. As staff worked its way through the evaluation process, we realized that our goals overlapped and the committees combined to focus our efforts on finding the best solution. So we put together some goals. Committee recognized that we want to provide enhanced level of online services with an emphasis on usability and features. The software must have the ability to submit permit applications online, along with digital plan submission and review. The software must have the ability to submit and renew business license applications, along with online and email notifications. The software needs to integrate with the existing GIS so that projects are tied to parcels, and we can use spatial rules to establish fees and restrictions. So we can use boundaries within the map to identify what type of fees we're going to charge or what kind of requirements might be involved with that particular permit. And there needs to be a tight integration between permit and business license modules to satisfy business rules. So an example I have is, a contractor applies for a permit. The software checks for an existing business license. And if it does not find one, it requires the contractor to apply for a business license before it will allow them to get a permit. That's all done all automatically, so no interaction from a person to do that. And the solution needs to be cost effective. We wanted to make sure that we were getting the most value for the funds invested. So the committee evaluated 6 firms that provide either land management software, business license software, or both. Shown here are the firms that we evaluated. After we evaluated these options using the goals I previously showed you, the committee recommends that we select Accela Civic Platform. So why Accela? So Accela provides online permit applications with plan submittal and full electronic plan comparison and markup. They provide online business license applications and renewals with email notifications. Accela integrates with existing city GIS for rules and history, so we can go back and see what projects happened at different areas. The permitting and business license modules are fully integrated. Accela is the most cost-effective offering for the features provided, meeting all the goals outlined by the committee. And then some of the other reasons that the committee selected Accela include Accela is a West Coast company. They're West Coast support center, so support is available during the hours that we work, not on East Coast time, which is a huge benefit. There's wide local agency adoption with an active local user group. Some of the local agencies using Accela include the City of Roseville, City of Sacramento, City of West Sacramento, and the County of Sacramento. So a large user base in this area, so a lot of different agencies we can bounce ideas off and use to our advantage. And the last one is that Acela participates in open source and Code for America projects. They have an open API so that open source projects can utilize the data stored in the Acela Civic platform, and they can create enhanced services and application using that data. So while the application itself is not open source, they participate in the open source community, so there's a lot of benefit there. So here's our recommendation. A, authorize the city manager to approve the purchase of software licenses from Acela of San Ramon, California, in an amount not to exceed $30,447. And B, sign a professional services agreement with the Sidwell Company of St. Charles, Illinois, for implementation services in the amount not to exceed $45,444, with a total project cost not to exceed $75,891, and finding that it's in the best interest of the city. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions of Brian?
Yeah, through the mayor. Brian, have you checked with other cities that perhaps have used this software from this company and their recommendations?
We've spoken with several different agencies that are using it, and we actually went on site to West Sacramento. West Sacramento is actually using both for both business license and for permitting. So they were a great example because that's exactly what we want to do. And they gave it a very glowing review. They're very happy with their software. They're very happy with the services provided, and they're very happy with the company as well. So that was a really big selling point for us in selecting Acela.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The only point I'll make on that is West Sacramento has been very aggressive on being one of the top, being able to get business done quickly. Because I know being on SACOG the short time I was, a couple of years, they had discussed that. And so them having a good approval of it was very pleasing to me that we're going that direction. Because they've done a good job with what they've utilizing that.
In just my comments, Brian, thank you. I think it's important for the city of Yuba City and certainly recognition that we needed across staff, all staff here at Yuba City, that we needed a better way. And the technology of today to be able to integrate our services here. What we expect builders and developers in much of this to be able to come forward with projects and not be delayed because of paper constraints and everything else. They can move through the process quicker, cleaner. The online process will allow for that. The equipment that goes along with this, I'm certain is probably some couple larger screens for some of our plan check review and things like that over at Fire and here in planning.
More than likely, we'll be looking at that as well as tablets for like inspections and stuff like that, because they do have online applications so that they can actually do inspections in the field and approve them and submit them in the field without ever coming into the office. So it streamlines it quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think that it's important that this be an open source data set first, and that Code for America has worked with them, and it was through West Sacramento that Code for America worked with them. But this gives us an opportunity to be able to develop applications for the user, the street level user, to be able to have tools in hand, and we can continue to streamline this process over time here in the city. So thank you for your efforts and your team of individuals who I noticed went unnamed, but
sorry,
but everyone,
try to keep it short.
Yeah, but everyone that has worked on this, I think this is a great achievement. This was one of my goals during the year, was to bring this forward, and I think that we're getting exactly what we've asked for. So thank you very much, and to the team and to the staff that supported this whole review and coming to this conclusion. So thank you.
Through the
Action
mayor?
from the council.
Through the mayor, I'd like to move for approval of this item with recommendations A and B.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's get that stuff in-house and get it fired up. Item number 19, our business license amnesty period. This is presented by Robin Bertegna, our finance director. Robin.
Good evening, Mayor, members of
Giving
the
away more
City
money.
Council. Pardon me?
Giving away more money, huh?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Not giving it away, but also bringing in more for unlicensed businesses. The Finance Department processes all business licenses and annual renewals for the city. To ensure that all businesses are fairly assessed and businesses are compliant with the city's business license tax, we've chosen to conduct an audit of those businesses. But in fairness, not knowing how many businesses might be conducting business within Yuba City but not be aware of our business license ordinance, we want to reach out and publicize through the possibility of an amnesty, advertising that for a period of time, say 60 days, staff is recommending that City Council grant authority to us to have an amnesty period and advertise and encourage folks to come in and obtain their city business license. And then after that, we would start the period of the city's review to ensure compliance is fair and across the board and all businesses are competing equally and have a valid city business license. We go through and do the best we can to ensure that we have full compliance, but I have every confidence that our audit firm that we hire will find some businesses that currently don't have a license. And the way it works is the city's ordinance states that we can go back and assess penalties on licenses that have not been obtained timely, and the penalty can be as high as 100% of the tax. So I'm asking City Council to consider an amnesty period where businesses can come in and obtain a business license and not be subject to any of the penalties and just pay the current year license fee for a period of time. With that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of Robin?
Through the mayor. No questions really, but one of the things is we have such a diverse community and a lot of the people are coming from countries that don't even have business licenses. You just go buy stuff and you sell it. And I would highly recommend that we do a significant public outreach to the different ethnic communities and the different ones that we have in our area, because I know we've done attempts at the county when I was there, and we realized that we were missing a couple of different sectors of the community, and we engaged in that way, and we got a much better response from them. So I would highly recommend that they, we do an outreach to the different groups that speak different languages in our community, because they just open mom and pop places and little things here and there like they would do normally, and it's not that way here. So a little education for them too.
We've been coordinating and having discussions with Darren, our Economic and Public Affairs Manager, for different ideas that he has for our reach out effort to try to educate the public. And we want compliance. We don't want to penalize folks. So the idea is to get everybody on an equal playing field.
To the mayor. Question, obviously if we're doing an outreach, the time period for forgiveness is 60 days. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, that's what staff is recommending as a base for discussion, but certainly we're open to entertain anything that council would like to direct staff to do.
I mean, I just think maybe a suggestion might be 90 days, because 60 days by the time you start doing an outreach and start putting in the paper, 30 days are gone, and that just gives them another 30 days. Doesn't give them enough time to do it. The other thing I think that we've done, that the city's done a great job in, is, like you mentioned, there's a lot of businesses here that come from out of town that set up shop, and we've all seen it. You've seen some fruit vendors with mangoes and papayas and stuff that seems like they're at every single corner. We've seen some ice cream trucks. We've seen those carts with the umbrellas that run around town, and the minute we send our inspectors, they're gone. And a great place was at Sam Brannan Park, and now we see them set up in front of the churches on Sunday mornings. So I think as we continue to have this amnesty program for 90 days to have all business get in compliance, we need to step up the enforcement effort as well and make sure the folks that are operating without the licenses are, giving a citation or telling them, hey, you got 90 days to come and get your license, because, we definitely want to get everybody that's not licensed to get in license. But my recommendation would be from 60 to do it for 90 days.
Okay.
And I would echo that, the 90-day period, given that the initial outreach, I believe, would probably consume the whole 60 days. And I think that the follow-up that needs to be done, just in these cases alone, kind of that roving band of vendors that are out there, many of which have very limited English, being able to reach out to them and make sure that on Saturday and Sundays and their setup locations that we're able to reach out to them, make sure that they're becoming compliant, but also just the home-based businesses that are out there. I think that oftentimes, the mundane process of filling out paperwork and saying, hey, I need to fill this out so I can pay a fee to the city, sometimes doesn't gel well. But yet we want to give them an opportunity, a fair opportunity to become compliant in the process and becoming someone that can work directly for the city. There are advantages to having a business license within the city, and some of those home-based businesses can take advantage once they become licensed to be able to provide some services, even to the city of Yuba City. Direction from the council.
To the mayor, I'll go ahead and make a recommendation to approve staff's recommendation with the change of making it from 60 to 90 days.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 20, fiscal year 2016-17 citywide sole source and professional services purchases, presented by Spencer Morrison, our accounting manager, who just couldn't wait to be here tonight.
Lucky number 20. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I bring before you tonight the fiscal year 2016-17 citywide purchases staff report. Purpose of this staff report is to consolidate all known, future, and mostly recurring staff reports for sole source and professional services for the fiscal year. These include annual renewals to contracts that council has already awarded previously. Staff brings this one report instead of bringing several separately as a service to you. There are no known local alternatives for many of these services. If it pleases the mayor and the council, I'll just run through the list fairly quickly.
Please.
Out of the finance and IT departments, we have Wildan Financial Services for vendor for Assessment District Administration, Independent Stationers for office supplies, and that is a piggyback cooperative that allows a local vendor, affordable, to provide office supplies to the city. Spillman Technologies for the police CAD and RMS system. SunGuard Penimation for financial system annual maintenance. Dell Computer Systems for the city's desktop computers and servers. InfoSend for utility bill printing and payment solution services. HDL for property tax and sales tax audits and business license discovery and audit. Moss Levy and Hartzheim Professional Audit Services. Quest for the city's annual Cisco and VMware annual maintenance agreement. Software One for the city's Microsoft Enterprise Agreement annual maintenance. And in the HR department, Patrick Clark Consulting for contract negotiations and labor relations. CalTest for contracted laboratory services, Pacific EcoRisk for contracted laboratory services, Do All Safety to provide development of safety programs and training, as well as maintain, develop, and implement the safety programs. National Meter, which would be the water meters in the ground. Tesco for instrumentation support for the utility plants. Fletcher's Plumbing for routine pumping of smaller sewer systems in the Stonegate area and emergency repairs at the utility plants. In the community services area, we've got Landscapes by Stencil, who's contracted to provide Feather River Parkway and landscape maintenance districts maintenance and upkeep. Applied Landscape Materials for mulch applications at various facilities. And Richard's Tree Service for tree trimming and tree removal services for projects as needed and emergency services. With that, staff is recommending that the City Council approve the citywide sole source and professional services purchases from July 1, 2016 through June 30, 2017, based on each purchase recommendation being in the best interest of the city. I will entertain any questions.
Questions, Spencer? No questions? Action from the council.
I'll make a motion to approve the citywide sole source and professional services as recommended by staff.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, Spencer. You can go home now. Business from the City Council. Item number 21, appointments to the City of Yuba City boards and commissions. Myself and Vice Mayor Cleveland went through some interview processes for a number of positions. The large bulk is for the Youth Commission, also for Planning, and for the Senior Commission. We have already previously talked about that. We still have openings on the Senior Commission. I don't see anyone here old enough to apply for that. So, but if you know someone like your grandparents, maybe they could show up and apply. The recommendation moving forward, we had a marginal interest in the Planning Commission. So we are going to continue to review the data that we took in during the interviews, and we'll be making a recommendation to the council members regarding what the next move will be to be able to fill a short-term slot on the Planning Commission. But it is with pleasure that I tell you that we have 5 members of our youth from the community that would like to join our Youth Commission, all serving a 2-year, just slightly less than a 2-year term, all expiring in June 30th of 2018. Those members are Navdeep Bal, Samir Gupta, Joanne Jarvis, John Krager, and Raiden Toshe. These youth were impressive, an incredible group of kids. I think we actually interviewed 8. We could only select the 5, and that was probably one of the most difficult things that we could do, was to limit it down to the 5. All of them very, very well qualified, all of them very interested in growing youth opportunities in our community, all of them with grand ideas, and also knowing that the job of this council is to look at recommendations from our youth and try to get to the answer of yes. Now, we do put some restraints on the monetary portions of that, but we always ask them to bring broad ideas to us and engage with the council in a way that will improve services to our youth and to families in our community. I believe that all 5 of these will lead our community in a direction that it currently is engaged in, and that is providing that expanded opportunity that we've been seeking and that they currently seek. And so our recommendation, my recommendation moving forward, is to accept these 5 individuals.
You almost didn't leave anything for me. I have to be creative now. I will say that if this is a picture of the interest to some of the youth, and some of them that, especially 3 of them, things that they have already done by the time they're in 10th grade, and the opportunities that their parents have given them and encouraged them to do in life, I'm very pleased. We have a good future in Yuba City. I will make mention that Navdeep Bal was one of the summer at Yuba City Hall. she heard about this and thought, wow, that would be neat to continue my participation in City Hall business and in the community. And she applied, and she was one of the, she just, all of these kids are amazing. I wish I had been thinking on the levels that they had at that age, because, I would be much more accomplished by now. Just absolutely amazing. The sky's the limit for them. So I'm very pleased of the selection that we had to choose from, and very encouraged.
Through the mayor.
Go ahead.
I would like to approve the City Council's screening committee recommendation for the appointments.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we welcome those 5 youth onto our youth commission. Moving on to item number 22, cancellation of the October 4th, 2016 City Council meeting. I know that this will come as a disappointment to staff and the public, but there is an opportunity, and we have an obligation, many of us, to attend the League of California City Annual Conference, which is being held in Long Beach, and that will be well attended by this council, leaving less than a quorum for our regular scheduled meeting. We do look forward to the work. I'll be going as one of the voting delegates, and I know that Preet Dipball will be going down as a presenter speaker on the youth intern program that she was involved in. So this is an opportunity for other cities to be able to hear from her. And I haven't heard a confirmation that the vice mayor is going down.
Oh, yes.
He's going, but he also sits on other committees.
Other committees that I have.
With the League of California Cities. So there are other obligations there also, but he will probably be in a support role to the council member who will be doing a full presentation, because it was an awesome opportunity during the summer, during those weeks, for those youth to be able to come here and learn how they can interface and be involved in the government scene, and not only that, but the business scene within a community. So, but with that,
one quick comment. It is actually there at the conference, annual conference last year, that Preet Didball and myself sat in on a presentation by, I think it was Sacramento, giving this idea, and they have 100 and some odd kids, 120 every year that do this. And so she came back and said, I want to try that. And I said, go for it. If they can do it, we can do it. And I'll let her speak to more to that if she wishes to.
And one of the reasons the league doesn't start actually until the morning of the 5th, but with the travel to Southern California and the availability of flights, we're looking at a departure in the afternoon on October 4th, so wouldn't be able to be here. So that's the reason for a cancellation of the meeting. Recommendation from council.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to a less, I guess, a less pleasing matter, but something that this council, and certainly that I feel needs to be done, and that is to address the shootings that have occurred in Dallas and certainly in Baton Rouge. I have, after spending nearly 32 years in law enforcement, have a number of friends, having attended the 226th session of the National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. I have friends that work in Dallas, in Houston, that my roommate was a Texas Ranger. And in talking with them following the aftermath of Dallas, And what we saw in the media from Police Chief Brown led to discussions that encourage us that agencies can engage with their community in a way to lessen the impact of the police and citizen violence, and certainly citizen to citizen violence. Police Chief Brown, I'll give you a little background, was appointed as the Chief of Police to Dallas in 2010. Within days of his appointment, his son was shot 11 times in Louisiana by police officers after he himself had killed a police officer. The son had. Chief Brown looked at the violence from his son and the response of the police and never laid blame with the police department, as he has spent all of his life as a cop. His own brother was killed in a gangland shooting in Dallas, Texas. This is the chief's own brother. Those things made an impact on him, and he, from 2010 to now, has reformed the Dallas Police Department into a very well-modeled community policing effort. He has gone to the extent of firing police officers for violence against the public. He holds in high regard the trust of his officers, and he will continue to be a model. He is presented in large forums at the White House regarding the very same issues that we talk about. He also is a down-to-earth individual that understands that there is a distinct job of law enforcement to be able to provide service to a community and at the very same time not be subjected to the violence. So I am presenting a letter for signatures by this council, and it reads, Dear Mayor Rollins, in the aftermath of the 2 weeks, we offer our support to you, Police Chief Brown, and the members of the Dallas Police Department in your efforts to promote a change in culture to reduce violent confrontations between police officers and the community by increasing accountability and transparency. This model must be promoted throughout the nation to curb the violence between the public and the officers sworn to uphold law and order. The Dallas City Council and the Police Department is clearly leading the nation in reforms, providing training focused on de-escalation techniques and excessive use of force in the delivery of community-oriented policing. As a former president, George W. Bush stated, too often we judge other groups by their worst examples while judging ourselves by our best intentions. This has strained our bonds of understanding and common purpose. We want the unity of hope, affection, and higher purpose. We end the letter with thank you for leading the way, signed by the members of this council, which I will pass from one end to the other for signature. Any comments from individual council members?
It's always a tragedy, and I think you've summed it up pretty well in the letter, that we always look at the worst. And it doesn't matter if it's in Dallas or if it's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or in Kansas today. It always hits home, because as men and women leave their house to protect ourselves, they don't know if they're going to come back. And too often, it's becoming a norm at this point in time for going after the men and women that protect and serve us. Sometimes even a thank you is not enough to them. Suggestion might be is also sending a letter to Baton Rouge, Louisiana as well.
The purpose of the letter, and I agree, we need to show our support unilaterally. And I really believe that the Dallas model is one that leads to a greater level of trust in a community. It's not that the city of Yuba City and the police officers here don't have that level of trust. It is a model that worked in one of the most violent cities in the United States, large cities. The violence that was going on when Chief Brown was appointed chief was incredibly high. And to this day, in one of his speeches, he was talking at the White House back in, I believe it was June, that they'd only had 2 murders in Dallas up to the year, and he knocked on wood. And he said, hopefully it stays that way. It's an incredible responsibility that he has led a department, and I think that he has the ability to lead a national reform effort in law enforcement throughout. Some of the states that lack the training, the opportunity to train, and I think that there needs to be a concentrated effort within some states that lack the willingness to have levels of training like California Post, Nevada Post, and some of the others that are required of police officers.
Just to our vice mayor and council member, I had to rescind the other one because you guys signed in the wrong place, but you don't need to sign them all.
Yeah. It's supposed to be above.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be above.
So we're just having to redo signatures on a letter that are going out.
Pretty simple process. It's amazing. One person can mess it all up.
I hadn't signed it yet, so
I wasn't saying you.
There you go. So with that, again, thank you to the public for the support you're showing our local officers. The Yuba City Police Department, on a number of occasions so far, has individual officers have come and talked to me about how the public is reaching out to them and saying thank you. I've witnessed it. I witnessed it at about, I think it was 2:30 on Sunday morning, where a member of the public came up and spoke to one of our sergeants, thanking him and shaking his hand. The same thing is happening in Mary's film. You read about, somebody picking up a check. That's not necessary. You don't have to buy a cop a meal to show your gratitude. It's a simple thank you. But this community does that. It does it on a regular basis. And I just want to really express, for all of our public safety, they are key to what makes a community a safe and a livable place, and certainly a place where business can be done, but families can enjoy a community like ours. And I thank our public for that. City Council reports. We're going to go to Council Member Ditball.
It's actually been, last couple of weeks have actually been pretty light with the summer vacations going on. Just want to, on note of the summer program that we had, on the 24th was their graduation, and those students were amazing. They were just so involved, and to this day I still get calls and text messages from the kids wanting references because they're pursuing now job shadowing situations with internships to go ahead and lead into their senior years. So it was a phenomenal program. Thank you everyone for the support and backing up the students. They were just amazing. And I think on a side note from that, with the job shadowing that the students did with our city staff, we actually had city staff that said that they inspired them to be in their offices doing the things, and they just looked at their jobs in a whole different light as well. So for graduation, Senator Nielsen actually came in and helped present the certificates and so forth. So that was nice. And we actually had a local news station that came in and did a story. As it was mentioned before, now we're going to be able to speak at League of California Cities to actually indicate how we were able to put the program together. And we were actually able to obtain a 3-year grant. So the program will continue next year as well as the year to follow, and hopefully we'll be able to go ahead and renew that grant and continue and sustain the program and hopefully make it large, like Sacramento has. So kudos to everyone who participated and made it possible. Brad, Darren, you guys were like the heart behind it, putting everything together. So thank you so very much for doing that. As far as the rest of the weeks, it actually was very light. Just on a personal level, was able to actually take the 2 weeks and go on vacation for the first time in 2 years. So I don't have any other reports. There were no other boards and commissions. Most of them were canceled. LAFCO, and I think that was the only one that was scheduled. LAFCO was actually canceled. We had a small ad hoc meeting before I left, but that was about it.
All right, thank you. And moving on to Councilmember Dukes.
Have a few items. Attended the Greater Sacramento board meeting a couple weeks ago and had their annual or first report. This is an organization that was stood up a year ago and had some pretty aggressive goals scheduled for the first year. And they were able to accomplish all except for one goal, which is pretty amazing, putting together an organization the size of Greater Sacramento, which has 37 CEOs from the top companies in Sacramento, and now I believe we have 19 public officials sitting on the board also. So it's a very large board, large organization, and they're making some very good progress, and I think that we're going to see and reap the benefits of what they're doing over the next few years. Attended a couple different changes of commands out at Beale Air Force Base. Colonel Doug Lee retired, and the new wing commander is now Colonel Larry Broadwell. And looking forward to getting to know him better over the remaining months of my term. And then Stephen Hoffman retired last Friday, and Colonel Danielle Barnes, who is actually returning to Beale. She was here a couple of years ago, and she's returning now to head up the maintenance support group, which is, you can kind of think of that position as the mayor of Beale Air Force Base. They oversee all of the infrastructure and everything that it takes to keep that base running. So it's a very important position. And then on Sunday following that, was out at the base to witness the arrival of the first KC-135 tanker back to Beale Air Force Base. We now have 3 that are owned by the 940th Wing, Reserve Wing here at Beale Air Force Base, and there will be more coming over the next year. So it's good to see those tankers back out there at the base. Participated as a judge for the Miss Peach Festival and the royalty for the Miss Peach Festival this year. It was an interesting process. And attended the mosquito vector board meeting last Thursday. You probably read in the paper last week about the first case of West Nile virus that was reported here in this area. It has not been confirmed yet, and so we're educating the newspaper on how this process works, because they just because somebody says it doesn't mean that it has actually been confirmed by the public health agencies in the area, and that there's a process to go through, so we don't panic people in the area. But we will be updating on that more in the future. Also attended the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency meeting, and I'll let Cash elaborate a little bit more on that, but it was a good meeting. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. And moving to Councilmember Cash Gill.
Sure. Yes, we did have our Sutter Buttes Flood Control Agency meeting. Work on our levee is moving along very, very well. The agency is continuing to work on the East Gridley Bridge. In fact, that bridge will be closing at nighttime from like 6 to 6. starting here in August. And one of the recommendations we made, even though we're trying to get a lot of that work done, it's probably the worst time to close that bridge because of a lot of the farmers and right in the middle of peach harvest, right in the middle of prune harvest, and 606 just wasn't going to work. And so they were going to take a look at two things. Number one is allowing access for emergency vehicles, because that's the only bridge, unless you go to 162 in Oroville to come and go in, allowing access to emergency vehicles, and possibly changing the time frame for farmers. So, I mean, they were looking into that. In addition to that, the last piece of the levee left, the major work, was the Laurel Avenue South, and that was awarded to Nordic Industries. And in addition to that, we've got some gaps, what we call the gap projects. And years and years ago, there was a area between Yuba City that was constructed by the Army Corps of Engineers. And during the high flood time, or when the high water time during this last rains, some of the samples were done in those particular areas, because if we're trying to get some of these levees certified into 200-year flood protection and 100-year flood protection, we wanted to make sure that that work that was done by the Army Corps of Engineers would be certified. And that work, even though they've spent a lot of money on it, is not going to be certified. So we'll have to go back and see how we can go back and try to get that work fixed, parts of it. But it's moving along. Our goal is to get that levee project done, hopefully, this year. One of the recommendations that came out of the committee was, or our board was, that we've been talking about a maintenance program as soon as all this levee work's done, Southern Buttes Flood Control Agency. What's going to happen after this levee project is done? Who's going to take over the operating and maintenance of it? And we need to start having discussions of that so that we as a board know, and at least the public has an idea of what cost, who's going to pay for it, what's the agency going to look like, and not just keep pushing that or kicking the can to the curb. So that's going to be upcoming discussions and upcoming meetings within the next few months. So, other than a lot of public events, that can go common, with the job itself, the police officers' awards were done at Veterans Halls, and we were able to do that. So a lot of that stuff, but that was really about it.
Thank you very much. Moving to Vice Mayor Cleveland.
Thank you. I was light 2 weeks for me also. I did attend, as Councilman Gill had said, a lot of community events and things. But the RWA, the Regional Water Agency meeting, was this last week. That's their 15th year of existence. And they had a luncheon, and then they had a few speakers there. They had both the Gaines, husband and wife, from our legislators were there speaking, and a few others that were talking about some of the accomplishments that have actually directly come out of that agency, and as a result of the advocacy of our communities as a joint group. And I can tell you one of them, I can pretty much say, is the bringing the conservation process of our water, supplying water, clean water, came out of not just the RWA, but a few other organizations just like it in the state of California, saying, state of California, you're doing this wrong. You're doing one size fits all. You're just, without real data, you're throwing numbers out there. And we want to be self-certifying and, set our own goals. And that's one of the things that the RWA was very instrumental in having occurred, to keep local control, which is our goal, is keep as much local control as possible. Other than that, it's just been busy life.
It has been.
Yes.
I love the United States of America. I love the 4th of July. You ever want to participate and have fun, go to the colonies and watch the 4th of July. It's pale in comparison to watch one of their 30-minute displays over the colonies, maybe even 45 minutes if you're up in New Hampshire. Awesome displays, awesome. Pale in comparison, though, to the display of fireworks from the 2nd of July on the south end of Yuba City to the 6th of July. From 3 o'clock in the afternoon, folks, until 2 o'clock in the morning. What are you thinking? The 4th of July is the celebration. You're not supposed to jeopardize yourself by possibly blowing off fingers or other things with illegal fireworks. My dogs hate you. The display is incredible. We need to come up with a public display that can be enjoyed by all in our community in a safe and reliable way. We have to stop this. We have to enforce everybody bringing whatever they want to bring and launching it from their front yard, their backyard, their rooftop, and thank God nobody did it from the top of their head this year. If you don't know about it, go online, research 2015 launching mortar from top of head. It's not a pretty sight. It's been done. We need to curb our celebration and get back to the root of what the 4th of July means. The children's parade that we all got to participate in and watch the bicycles and eat 852 hot dogs. And it wasn't a hot dog eating contest, okay? It was just a good time. The bands out there, the kids with smiles, the dogs dressed up. Yeah, I had 2 mutts with me. What a kick in the pants that is. And it has grown each and every year. Folks, come out and participate. That's what the 4th of July is. It reminds me of driving through the colonies and every city you come to on a major state highway is shut down. One at 10 o'clock, you get half a mile down the road and you're coming to another city and it's shut down because they're having parades on the main drag of their city. That's what we need to do here. We need to celebrate the meaning of 4th of July and have just a great celebration as a community, but we need to stop blowing our neighborhoods up. It's not safe, and we need to do something about it. Got to also attend the Gil Sizer meeting, or the board meeting, where we passed the budget for Gil Sizer. Gil Sizer's in good shape, but with the budget in place, we can move forward for the next year. Also did an interview with the Appeal Democrat with our Assembly member James Gallagher present, where we got to ask questions. That was in the Appeal Democrat. What an opportunity to be able to sit down and be able to discuss with a person that's the minority whip down at the Assembly, just kind of where the Assembly, what's the mindset in certain laws that are being passed down in the Assembly. Not that he's a participant other than saying no to a lot of them, but what are these guys thinking when they're passing these laws? If you ever have that opportunity, have that discussion with James, and it will enlighten you as to what some people think are important in the state of California when there are other issues going on that they could have some effect on, but they pass quite honestly some fairly marginal laws. And also today we had a meeting with SACOG here, representative from SACOG, Sacramento Council of Governments, was here to listen to our staff, and Sutter County representatives were also in the room at the time, and able to discuss what the needs are from our community. The representative from SACOG left here very impressed with the direction, but also was able to take a tour of our Highway 20 corridor, which they're involved in to some regard, and then the lack of movement on our 5th Street Bridge project, but also very impressed with the 4-phase project on Bridge Street leading the big work that's being done. We apologize for the ditch in the middle of Bridge Street, but you don't have to go out and buy a new car every year to keep the rattles out of it once that roadway has been completed. This is a state-of-the-art surface that's going to be put in there, medians. It will be the beginning of a wonderful gateway into our downtown section of Yuba City. Last to note, y'all get to have a basketball team in Yuba City, a professional basketball team. It's the ABA. We're going to be coming to Yuba City. Their first game is November the 12th. The owner used to play in the NBA and European League. This ball you might recognize from the 60s, early 70s when the ABA, before they joined with the NBA, Julius Irving shot this very same ball, the red, white, and blue ball. These are professional players. They're already signing players to play here. The first game is against the San Antonio, Texas team. The ABA is an international squad now, and they'll be playing teams out of Japan. The games will be being played for at least the first year at River Valley High School. It's going to be very difficult for the use of the facility and scheduling regular events, but I think we have about 7 games being scheduled right here in Yuba City to be played. So it is an opportunity. It will take community support for a team to be able to come. But I'm being told, and I'm not a marketing agent for them, but from the owner himself and also from the commissioner of the ABA, that this is the family type environment that when you can't afford to go to an NBA game, you can come and watch professional basketball in your local community, and it should be a lot of fun. So we look forward to their arrival.
And what is the name of our new team?
The name, Sports Yuba City, and part of it, it's the Yuba City Gold Miners. So there is a Facebook page. I highly encourage members of the public to go out and take a look at that and certainly participate in whatever way you can in being supportive and getting the information out. So thank you very much for reminding me that I had dropped their name, because this ball is going to be enhanced a little bit with their logo on the front of it. So thank you very much, and we will again adjourn this meeting in memory of the Dallas officers, the Baton Rouge officers, and absolutely all police officers that have lost their lives this year.